Stampers. Welcome to Coffee and a Card, my free class. I'm Vicki Sewell, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Please like and follow me on Facebook at StampinChat30 or email me at stampinchat30@gmail.com. My April host code is 2JP2AHEG. You can use my handy Shop Now button at the top of this page, and for every $35 of Stampin' Up! Products before tax and shipping that you order from me, entering this host code as you check out, you'll get a chance to win a Touch of Ink stamp set. You had to order $100 to get it during the last celebration, so if you missed that cute set during celebration, you'll get another opportunity. Here's the stamp set, and in one of my previous Coffee and a Cards, I demonstrated how to use it. So here are two of the cards that I made in a previous stamp set, Coffee and a Card session, and it's a really beautiful stamp set. You won't want to miss it. You must enter the host code, though, to be eligible. And if you'd like the new Stampin' Up! Catalog that comes out in May, please contact me. Today I'm going to show you how to vary the look of a stamp set by changing the paper you stamp on. Most of the time we tend to stamp on cardstock, but I'm excited to show you what happens when you take this same stamp set and stamp on designer series paper or on vellum or on foil. I'll show you some examples first. But I wanted to show you this stamp set. I hope the glare is not too bad. This stamp set is Fancy Phrases, and that's the set that I'll be using today. It's from the annual catalog on page 126. I almost overlooked it, but it's a sweet and sophisticated floral stamp with some really nice sentiments. Sending a little smile your way. May your day be filled with heartfelt happiness. Keep it in case you need it sometime. I love this font with the birthday wishes and the font here, a little something just for you. And here's this one that you can use on the outside and put the matching one on the inside. When I count my blessings, I count you twice. And then it has this absolutely gorgeous floral stamp that's large and a small floral stamp to complement it. It is on the retiring list, and it's only available while supplies last, so you don't want to delay getting it if you fall in love with it today. So let's look at a couple of cards, and then I'll demonstrate for you. This card was stamped on, get my notes here. This card was stamped on the Oh So Ombre designer series paper. Stampin' Up! Has papers that are double-sided, and usually on one side there's a pretty ornate design, and then there's usually on the other side there's a more sedate, less busy design. So I chose this side of the paper. It came, one side looked like this, and the other side happened to be a different color. This one happened to be both of them, just two different colors. But Stampin' Up! Papers offer a lot of versatility for you. So this was a celebration paper that I had, and I just stamped the floral image different places. It's a large stamp that looks like this, and I just stamped here, and then I would turn it and stamp on the corner, and then turn it another way and stamp here, and so on, to almost make my own designer paper on the background. These are the Stitched Be Mine dies with the sentiment, and ornate borders, and Happy Thoughts sentiment set. The Happy Thoughts sentiment set looks like this, and that's all it is just lots of sentiments. Oh, that's the notes for the inside. Here's where I use the ornate borders dies. That's on page 177 of the annual catalog. And this little rose right here that I use to decorate the inside of the card, that is in the Stitched Be Mine dies. It's a kind of a Valentine set, but it has this sweet little die cut out for a rose, and it's great to decorate your envelopes. I actually put it on, cut one out and put it on an envelope, and I used it for the inside of the card. So when I send it, they'll get a sneak peek of the card that I'm sending. This ribbon is a Pool Party sheer ribbon. It happens to be on the, I think it's on the clearance sale right now. So if you like it, you need to get in there and check on that. And then the banner, I added the banner here, and I used the banner Pick-a-Punch. And that's in the annual catalog. So that's with that designer series paper. Then I used a different, this is a really different look. I used the In Good Taste, which is kind of a wood grain type paper. This is the fine art ribbon that's in the mini catalog. And to create the label, I used the black, I used the Everyday Label Punch. And for the very vanilla, I used the Label Me Fancy Punch. And this sentiment came from the Peaceful Moments. It's another sentiment set that's really has some great things on it. So I decided to make a sympathy card. It's very hard for me to make sympathy cards on the spur of the moment. So I like to make them when I'm feeling creative and just kind of put them aside and have them ready when they're needed. I did use the smaller flower to stamp on the envelope, and I just thought that was a really unique look there. This is black Memento ink. On this card, I used the Bermuda Bay ink, and then this is Coastal Cabana. That little right here, the lighter color is Coastal Cabana. So that just gives you two different looks, really bright and cheerful, and one a little more sedate. On this card, I stamped on vellum. I stamped the image on vellum, and I used Stays-On ink. And so I'm going to demonstrate this card for you in a few minutes, but I'm going to use some different colors. I used the Layering Squares dies, and these are the champagne rhinestones. Of course, I've used the square vellum doilies before. I just love those for extra layers. This is Mango Melody and Flirty Flamingo. I actually colored this with Rococo Rose. The Flirty Flamingo didn't quite give the look I wanted, so I colored it with Rococo Rose, and the green is Old Olive. And I stamped a flower down here, that smaller image that's in the stamp set. I stamped it with Versamark, and you'll see how beautifully that just matches the cardstock. Versamark is a really fun ink to use. This greeting is from the Itty Bitty stamp set, Itty Bitty Greetings, and this die is from the Ornate Frames. Now, another technique that I'm going to demonstrate is stamping on foil. I hope you can see this. Of course, it's shiny, and that makes it a little harder to see, but I hope you can see it. There's a special technique that I learned to do with Versamark and clear embossing powder, and it gives that foil the texture. I'm not sure if you can see the texture. I'm trying to get a little bit closer to see if you can see it, but that gives you just really interesting texture. This is the True Love paper that's in the mini catalog, And these are the oval dies. And there again, that's the Stitch So Sweetly dies, but I just turned them. Usually we see them this way, horizontal, and I turned it so it was vertical. And I used the banner, pick a banner punch there again with some little black dimensionals, not dimensionals, but gems there, and some ribbon. I buy lots of my embellishments and ribbon on the clearance rack. So, and they've just refreshed the clearance rack recently, so be sure and go check that out. Here's another look for that same card, except I used a different foil paper. I used the pink True Love. That's in the mini catalog. It's that True Love, and you would have thought of it for Valentine's Day, but it's great for lots of other things too. And there's two designs. There's the floral design, and then this is the solid foil, so I stamped on that. So it's a lot of fun to try different papers, and you'll just see what a great variety of looks you can get from trying those papers. So let's get started. On the first card. I always save the little pieces of vellum so I can try out the colors, because the colors when you're using your blenders will look different or may look different from what you expect. Now, I did stamp, when you're stamping on vellum, it's best to use the Stays-On ink. Normally, for most things, we use the Memento ink, but the vellum is such a smooth paper that the Stays-On works better. And we'll use the Stays-On on the foil paper also. To clean the Stays-On ink, Stampin' Up! Has a Stays-On cleaner, and it just has a little foam pad, and you just rub the foam pad over the stamp like that to clean it, and then rinse it with a little bit of water. And that because Stays-On is a more permanent type ink. Just a little tip for you: Stampin' Up's ink pads are designed so that the ink pads store upside down, but these ink pads don't store. They're not upside down. So when you store these you need to store them upside down. You need to turn them upside down and store them that way. But you don't have to worry about the Stampin' Up! Ink pads. They're already done that way for you. All right, so I stamped with the Versamark on the vellum, and I cut it out with the square dies. And now we're ready to color. I think I'm going to go with purple on this one. And when you color, you usually color on the back side. It's just an interesting way to do it. It gives a really delicate feel to things. I'm going to use the dark and light Holland Heather to color, and a little bit of Daffodil Delight, the light and dark Daffodil Delight. Just a touch of Rococo Rose. And this time for the green, I'm going to use the Just Jade Light and Dark. But it's nice to save that little scrap vellum, and I just kind of check out my colors on the vellum just to see what kind of effect I'm going to get, and see how they go together. So let's try the Rococo Rose. Yeah, they're going to look pretty together. Here's my dark Daffodil Delight, my light Daffodil Delight. So that's just kind of how I test out my colors to see if they're going to go together well, if I'm happy with my choice of colors. And it gives me an idea of how it's going to look on the paper. So I'll hold it up to this white. Maybe you can see a little bit better. Like that. I'll just leave that over there for reference. All right, so let's get busy coloring. Start with the Island Heather. And I'm just going to color the large images with that. And then I'm going to go back and just highlight the edges. And Stampin' Up! Kind of gives you ideas of where maybe some of the dark places should be. Give you hints there. You can use those, or you can add others as you wish. Our azaleas are out at our house. I wonder if how yours are looking. It is spring, and all those beautiful flowers are coming out soon, if they're not out already. Yay, spring. All right. We'll color a few more of these purple, kind of up through here. It's funny when you add this on here, it first looks pink. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but as it dries, it turns more purple. You'll notice I'm just doing little areas at a time, and then I go back so that it will still be a little bit wet and will blend together. I don't want it to get totally dry. Just want it to be a little bit wet so the colors will blend. Now I'm going to use my Rococo Rose for these little buds up here. Just do them really quickly. And let's see, maybe these little buds here, just to add some fun colors. Okay, and some yellow. Yellows and purples go together well. If you've ever looked at a color wheel and made your choices for colors based on the color wheel, yellow and purple are secondary colors, and they go together. All your secondary colors go together really well. And some yellow over here. And a little yellow over here. Just some little splashes of darker color there. And now we're ready for the green. Oh, I see one that I missed. Let's go back and get that one. Yep, and one over here. And one over here. I missed a lot of those flowers. Start coloring leaves, you notice those flowers you forgot. There we go. So, have you had a chance to look at the new in colors, and what do you think about them? I love that polished pink myself. There we go. Now come back in with a little bit of dark to accent. Just really quick and simple, fun to color. Then when we turn it over, we have some nice, you can see the outline much clearer and it really shows up. I want to add just a little more dark to this leaf. There we go. And to even set that off on the card even more, I placed this on a little square of white cardstock just so that it would show up really well. You can see it's a little dark there, and if you like that look, that's great. I wanted the flowers to show a little more distinct. So you have to be careful with vellum because whatever you use shows through. You can use little dots of glue. I'm going to use some glue dots, and I'm going to place them on the darker part of the flowers, maybe right there, because they're clear and I don't think they'll show up as much. They won't be as noticeable. So that is one thing you have to watch on the when you're using vellum. You have to watch where you put your glue or where you put your glue dots. So I'll just kind of spread them out there. I'm not going to put them all the way to the edges. I might be able to put some under the leaves. Maybe one there. But that will hold it down just fine. I'm going to use this as a background so I can see the edge of the vellum better. Make sure that it's even. And there we go. All right. So that was quick and easy. Now we're just going to put it together. This is some of the purple posy. It is designer series paper that comes in the end colors. Got a little too high on that one. Over that again. Okay, we'll put that down. Now my cardstock is 5.5 by 11, and it's scored at, I'm sorry, it's 5.5 by 11. It's scored at 4 1/4. And that it's the dark Holland Heather, gorgeous gray. And the lighter is a Holland Heather, and this is the purple posy designer series paper. So I'm going to add my next layer. Oh, it doesn't want to start. And I forgot to write down the measurements of this. This one is 3.5 by about 4 3/4 on this second layer. You know, I think I want to pop that up. Change my mind. I think instead of the snail, I'll pop it up with some dimensionals. I'll put those on really quickly. to give a little extra dimension to the card. And those peel off really quickly. Whoops, now it's sticking because I have seal on there. There we go. And we'll center that. Now we're ready for the square vellum doily. And I'll use a little bit of glue on that, on just the big spaces. I did see a neat trick for putting that on. This is a tool that Stampin' Up! Sells. It's a rubber mat, and it's great if you're doing adhesives because they will clean right off of this. So if you just put a little bit of glue on there and take your pick tool, and I'm using the end, the scoring end, and you can just dab it right there, dab it in the glue and dab it on. So anything like a small die that you've cut out, an intricate die that you've cut out, you can just dot around it, and that is so much easier than trying to take a glue bottle and get into those small spaces. So that was something new I learned recently. All these tricks that make life easier. Life hacks, aren't they great? Alright, so I've got some of those kind of in the center. I don't want to put any on the edges. But I'll just clean this off. It cleans off. It's a silicone mat and cleans right off. No problems. Cleans off really easily. Alright, so we're going to put it up this way. Like that. And one of the things I want to do, because if I put the sentiment on this corner, right here, I just wanted to add a little something down here, and I should have done this before I attached it. But here's what we'll do. We'll slip this underneath. This is just the backing from the dimensionals. And I'll show you the Versamark ink. And the magic that it does. We'll just stamp in the Versamark, and then we'll come over here and stamp this little flower that we want to add. And you may not be able to see it now, but it will darken as we're talking, and it will become the color. It matches the color of the cardstock, so you don't have to have as many different types of ink. You can use Versamark, and it will automatically match the cardstock that you're using. That fascinates me every time I do that. It's like the disappearing ink that you used to try out when you were a kid. All right, let's add this with some dimensionals. Get those back over here. Now, because we added that little cardstock layer underneath, we don't have to worry about it showing through the vellum. And I'm going to turn it. I think we want to go this way. And center it right there. Now Stampin' Up! Has some really pretty ribbon that matches all this. I could have added a little bow. I could have added a little, maybe just a little hint of ribbon at the bottom. It's just kind of fun to play. May still add a little bow right there. But that ribbon matches all these purples beautifully. All right, you'll see I stamped crooked on the back. Didn't like it, or it didn't stamp clearly. And thank goodness paper has two sides. So I just turned it over and stamped on the other side. No problem. All right, we'll add that. Oh, I see it sticking up there a little bit. I don't like that. We'll come back with some glue dots a little bit later and I'll get that to stick down. I'll add one under there and maybe one under here so it sticks down a little better. I can add a few more glue dots later. One of the things I do when new catalogs come out is I do a product share. And this is what a product share would look like. I share, it's kind of a sampler pack. And I share samples, so you get a piece of every designer paper, a 6x6 piece of every designer paper. If you participate in the embellishment share, this is kind of what you'd look like. You'd have a sampling of all the embellishments, and so you could try it out. And then decide if you want more, or I know when I'm looking at cards, I'll see cards that people have made, and I think, oh, I'd like to have that particular paper. But I don't want a whole lot of it. So a paper sampler, paper share is a great way to try out products. It can also include ribbons and things like that. So now's the fun part. Let's see what we'd like to add. What do you think? We could add the light purples. These are all from the, they're from the January to June mini catalog, and they're on page 86. These are the matte black, and these are the pastel pearls. I'm looking at the pastel pearls, but these opal rounds are also gorgeous. I'm so tempted just maybe to try an opal round. Let's see what it looks like. It's kind of large. So let me go back to, let's go back to these and see what we think about those. I kind of like that. Let's just try the lighter color. Oh, I think I like the lighter color better. So we'll just add a couple of embellishments right there. Highlight our sentiment. There we go. And we could use one of the darker ones up here if we wanted to. No, I think I'll stick with the white Holland Heather. And there we go. Beautiful. So that's coloring on vellum. It's really fun, really easy, simple to do. The next one is a new technique that I've learned. It's a little more complicated. The two cards I've shown would probably be for casual stampers. This one's for a little bit more avid stampers, but it's not a hard technique at all, not really. You just stamp your image on foil. Stampin' Up! Has all colors of foil. They have silver, gold, bronze, copper. You can get any color you like. And so I stamped the image with the Stays-On ink. I stamped it on the foil, and I just used different dyes. I was playing, and I used different dyes to see what I might like. I put a little oval behind this, and you can tell I punched out a shape there because you don't want to waste paper. But and it won't show when you put it on the card. So I outlined it in black, then I used a plain. This one has a stitched. I was just trying out different things it's just fun to play. That's part of the creative process. So we stamped those, but here's what makes it interesting and different. To give this, you could leave it just like this. And I stamped the greeting there, forever and always. This, I think, will be an anniversary card or maybe a wedding card. And you could just leave it like this, but there's a new technique I learned where you can use Versamark, and you just kind of streak the Versamark over it. And then you use clear embossing powder. So when I use embossing powder, I lay down coffee filters because they won't have any static on them. And the clear embossing powder comes in a container like this. A lot of people transfer it to another container. I just leave it in this container because the coffee filters help me get it back in. And what you're going to do with your Versamark ink is just kind of go across this and leave streaks. You don't want it solid. You just want to give a streaked effect. So I'll come back over here and do the edge with a streak. And then we're just going to sprinkle our clear embossing powder all over it. Now, you've probably seen people do this with greetings. You can stamp a greeting with ink or Versamark. And then you put this over it, white, and it comes in different colors. You can do white or black or whatever colors they offer at the time. And we're just gonna, I've just about used up the whole jar, but I'm not worried about that because I'm gonna put it back. Okay, so just let that sit a minute. And then we just kind of tap that off. And I just kind of flick it on the back. And you'll see, I hope you can see how the embossing powder has kind of covered parts of it, but you leave parts of it shiny. And then to get it back in the container, it's easy peasy using the coffee filter. I just set that on top of another coffee filter. I have a little crease in this one, and I just slide it back in. And if there's a little left in the middle, you just kind of crease it again, tap it a little bit. There's no static with these coffee filters. Sometimes if you use plastic containers, there's a lot of static and you can't get all the embossing powder out. But there it is, all back inside. I always use this one as a liner just in case it spills. But there we go. No mess, no fuss, no mess. Now, then you heat emboss. And my trick is to use a clothespin so that I don't burn my fingers. So I'm going to use that clothespin. I'm going to put it where the embossing powder is not. And I'm going to use a heat tool. Stampin' Up has a heat tool. And you need to let it warm up, so I won't talk much. We'll let it warm up. And then we'll just come along and heat this up. You'll see it change, I hope. There'll be a change. The heat melts that powder, and of course it's made it kind of wrinkle, but that's all right because we'll put put adhesive on it. But you'll see it gives just a nice texture to that. I hope you can see that texture. I'll put a little closer maybe where you can see it. I don't know how the glare is on this, but it just gives it a lovely, lovely texture, so it's not all smooth. There's little rough places. And then we'll just put this card together. You'll notice on the first card I made, I used an oval shape. Like I say, I played with the shapes. And I decided on this one I'd use the rectangular shape. I'm using the basic white. Here again is some, this was the Classic Garage set. I'm not sure if it's current or retired. It might be on the clearance rack, who knows. This is a greeting that I embossed with silver. I did the same thing. I stamped the greeting on there with Versamark ink, and then I sprinkled silver embossing powder over it, and then I heat embossed it, and you'll see you get a beautiful, a little bit raised, shiny, very easy to do. It takes a little practice, but once you've practiced and learned, it's really easy to do. So we'll just add our snail to this. Doesn't want to go. There we go. There we go. I just love the way this True Love paper goes with the floral. Fancy Phrases floral set. There's the big rose in the middle. Of course, we're going to cover up part of that, aren't we? I think I will glue this down and then put dimensionals on the black since it curled up a little bit. That will flatten that out for us. Just hold it down a minute. Flattens right out. And then I'll put dimensionals on the back of this. Too close there. You could also use black dimensionals. I forgot to get those out, but they do have black dimensionals. That's probably what I should have used. Just now thought about it. Let's see if that one will move. But that makes sense to have black dimensionals for the dark colors. Oh, and I forgot to add the ribbon, didn't I? I have to think about what to do about that. Might just add a bow. Just make a little bow and add it. We'll put that up on dimensionals. These are the mini dimensionals. You can see I had a practice session. I have a practice session with my with my sentiments often. And I'll try it on one side, and then it's not exactly like I like it, so I'll try it on the other side. So I'm going to add that. Oh, I know what. I stamped it on the Forever and Always on the foil, but I didn't like that. It didn't show up very well. So I went back and stamped it on the black paper and embossed it. And then it shows up much better. All right, so I think maybe I'll do a little not sure what I'll do with the ribbon. Now, I didn't cut one long enough. Probably I meant to add it down there. And I can go back and add that. But anyway, here's the beautiful cards that you can make with the Fancy Phrases stamp set. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous variety, I think. Lots of different looks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards when they're all different looks. So anyway, be sure and like, share, and like this video. And remember that if you'll get a chance to win this card that I made when you share this video. And if I get the ribbon on this one, we might have 2 winners. Leave a comment below to let me know that you've shared, and maybe I'll be sending one of these cards to you in the mail. The products I've used are available from my online store unless they're in the clearance or retiring sale, and those are only available while supplies last. All you have to do is click on the Shop Now link above, and if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be yours. Thanks for joining me for Coffee and a Card today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have lots of new ideas. Be sure to ink it up and send a blessing to someone today. Bye.